It's hard to believe this, but the Lamborghini Aventador first debuted over 10 years ago, and it has definitely earned the title of one of the most iconic supercars ever created. From the looks to the performance to the engine sound, everything about the Aventador is just so iconic, and in its 10-year lifespan, it is finally coming to an end. Over the past few days, I have been thinking non-stop about my predictions about the Aventador SJ, so today I will be giving y'all my predictions, and they are absolutely crazy. Stay tuned until the end of the video to where I will reveal my predictions, but anyway, here we are going to give y'all everything we need to know about the new Aventador SJ. And yes, it's still hard to believe, but Lamborghini made yet another Aventador variant. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe down below to help me reach my goal of 2,000 subscribers before the end of 2021. And also, we do have a ton of car content that is coming up, including exciting supercar vlogs. So if you're a car fan like me, you're going to like this channel. But before I tell you my predictions about the last Aventador being made, yes, I said it, the last Aventador being made, I'm going to tell you a little backstory and discuss some of the updated design evolutions of one of the most iconic cars ever made, the Aventador. So YouTuber that goes by the name Verix, and also I'm sorry if I pronounced the name wrong, but he spotted this strange Aventador and got some really good shots of it, and we'll take a look at it later. And he also gave us a little glimpse at what it will sound like. Take a listen. I'm actually friends with Verix, and he follows me on one of my Instagram accounts called Ferrari.812.competizione. But anyway, back on track. This car will debut within the next few weeks, so the reveal isn't too far away. Every Aventador uses the glorious 6.5 liter naturally aspirated V12 that is, in my opinion, the best sounding engine ever produced. It started off with 691 horsepower in the original Aventador, and over the years it has been increased to 759 horsepower in the SVJ, but then hybrid technology came along. The last Aventador variant will use the engine from the SVJ that makes 759 horsepower and is expected to have a 10 horsepower increase. Again, the 10 horsepower increase that makes 780 horsepower is just an assumption, so it's not official. This is also expected to be the first ever hybrid Aventador, and my specific predictions about what the hybrid powertrain will be that it might have is actually some pretty smart thinking, and we'll get to that later in a little bit. So there are many Aventador variants, and I mean so many that it's going to take me an extremely long time to name all of them, but guess what?
They're making another one.
The Aventador lifespan started off with what is my favorite car of all time, the original Lamborghini Aventador LP700-4 that debuted on February 28, 2011, and it was created to be the successor of one of my other favorite Lamborghinis, the Murciulago. The Aventador lifespan was supposed to end with the SVJ LP770-4, and the SVJ actually held the record for the fastest car around the Nürburgring with a time of 6 minutes and 45 seconds. The evolution of the Aventador started off with the LP700-4, then the Aventador J, 50th Anniversario, Super Veloce S, then the Super Veloce Yoda. First Aventador debuted already over 10 years ago, which is pretty surprising because, well, even today it still looks like it's from the year 2050.
But it's 10 years old.
The Aventador's design is so emotional, timeless, and it looks amazing in every single angle. Ever since this new Aventador variant has been spotted, people have been naming it the Aventador SJ, which stands for Aventador S Yoda. You might have heard the name Yoda before, because that name comes from the absolutely insane Lamborghini Aventador Super Veloce Yoda. When this car debuts, it probably won't be called the Aventador SJ, but the reason people are calling it the Aventador SJ or S Yoda is because the design of this car is very similar to the Aventador SVJ, and with that being said, let's discuss the design. So the rear of it is the most uncovered part of this Aventador, and we'll discuss that right after we look at the front and side view. But first I need to say something really quick. My friend PK rendered what this Aventador could look like, and it looks absolutely awesome. He also made a full video about it, and his channel is called Overdrive Automotive. There will be a link down in the description below to subscribe to his his channel. He makes some really great car content that I know you'll enjoy. Staring at a front view, this is definitely the most covered up part of this entire car, so there could be an all new front bumper style, but people have been saying that it could just look like an Aventador S, but if they're covering it up this much, there are definitely some significant changes to this. Now, from a side view, there are some covered up areas such as part of the front bumper and front fenders, but since they covered up the front fenders, this could mean that this could be the first ever production Aventador with louvered fenders. Some other cars that have louvered fenders are the Porsche 911 GT3 RS and 2 RS, McLaren 765 LT, 600 LT, and Dodge Viper ACR, and that's just some of the few cars. But even the most hardcore variant of the Aventador, which is the SVJ, didn't have louvered fenders to extract turbulence coming from the front wheels to produce more downforce, so it's kind of odd that this might have it, but the hardcore variant didn't have it. But the side skirts are also covered up, and part of that massive intake on the side is covered up. That could mean that there could be some changes, but of course we can't see it yet. Also, if you analyze the photo closer, the bat wings, what Lamborghini calls it, that are fixed in place is covered up, so I'm not really sure what could be going on there. Also, if you notice the rear deck lid, it actually has the same engine cover as the original Lamborghini Aventador, which in my opinion is just such a cool design feature that Lamborghini put into, and it's just such a cool way to pay tribute to an iconic supercar. And this kind of reminds me of what Ferrari did with the F8 Tributo's deck lid, because it paid tribute to the incredible and iconic F40. It also borrows the gigantic rear diffuser and the two exhaust pipes in the center of the rear, just like the SVJ, but there is one sort of hidden design element that you might have not noticed until now, and that is if you look at the rear diffuser, just imagine where the exhaust pipes were on the Aventador S. It was above the rear diffuser, and the SJ has the outlines of it, but without the exhaust. So Lamborghini just kept that exhaust area empty, but this leads us to my theory of what the biggest change of this Aventador variant could be. So take a look at the rear of the Koenigsegg Regera. Above the middle of the rear diffuser, it looks like there is an exhaust pipe, but it actually isn't. That actually lets out hot air that comes from the electric motors because the Regera is a hybrid. The real exhausts are actually part of the rear diffuser. Now, what am I trying to say here? Well, those little exitings in the Aventador SJ could mean that, I know this might sound crazy, but this could be a hybrid, and that little exiting area could let out the hot air that comes out from the electric motor, but my theory is that it just couldn't be any typical electric motor. My theory is that it uses something called a supercapacitor. What other Lamborghini model uses supercapacitor? The Sion. Now, as I said earlier in the video, there is an insane amount of Aventador variants, and one of them is the Sion, except that the Sion uses the 6.5 liter naturally aspirated V12 engine from the Aventador SVJ, but uses hybrid technology called a supercapacitor. So what if the Aventador SJ uses the powertrain from the Sion, a V12 with the supercapacitor? A supercapacitor isn't like a typical electric motor that other hybrid or fully electric cars use. A supercapacitor doesn't need to be plugged in to be charged. Instead, while you are driving the car and not pressing the throttle, it recharges when you hold the brakes. Now, what that does is that a supercapacitor charges much faster than the electric motors that you're used to seeing, but there is also one catch. It runs out of battery much quicker than a normal electric motor, and you also can't drive it in a fully electric mode. But the benefit of the supercapacitor is that torque will come even quicker than the normal Aventadors, and also you know how the Aventador uses a single clutch transmission, and it pauses shortly in between while shifting gears. Well, the supercapacitor actually still provides acceleration while the clutch is off of the engine while it's shifting gears, which makes it feel like a dual clutch gearbox. While the clutch is off of the engine, it will still accelerate at a high speed. But anyway, that concludes my predictions, theories, and everything that we know so far about the Aventador SJ. Again, it probably won't be called the Aventador SJ, but we'll just have to wait until a few weeks whenever it debuts. But that is basically it for today's video. If you did enjoy today's video, please give it a like, subscribe down below if you haven't already, and it'll help me reach my goal of 2,000 subscribers before the end of 2021. And also, we do have a ton of car content that is coming up, including exciting supercar vlogs. So if you're a car fan like me, you're gonna like this channel. If you love today's video, I know you'll love some of my other videos, so I recommend you go check them out. But I hope to see you in a future video. Bye for now. 1900 horsepower. How you like the speedsters? Three SVJs. Insanity.